Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to take a look at a Pokemon it does not seem like we talk about very often, though let me know in the comment section if that is actually incorrect. It's Jellicent, a Pokemon that is so easily forgotten that when I was going through earlier downloading scans from the Japanese website for these videos, I literally forgot it, even though it was on my list of really interesting cards. Poor Jellicent. Now, the good news is here, we've got a translation from the lovely Antoine Boulet. The bad news is the basics ain't particularly great. We got 120 HP, which honestly is meh. I'd rather have 130. We got a retreat cost of 3, which is that magic spot between free retreat with air balloon and extra HP with buff padding. We've got a weakness to lightning, which with stuff like Boltund running around in lightning decks isn't ideal. The only thing that saves you is you got low HP naturally anyway, and most lightning Pokemon will destroy you. And you're a water Pokemon, and I like water Pokemon. That's weakness on Center Scorch and all of these welder decks, and it means you can use Frostmoth to accelerate energy, so there are good things about being a water Pokemon. A Capacious Bucket to search energy out of your deck, which could be interesting, as we get to in a minute. So you know what? I'm kind of alright with this. Now, there's only one attack, and it says 10 times next to it, and it sounds like it might be a little bit underwhelming, but I kind of like this. According to the lovely Antoine Boulet, it reads, this attack does 10 damage for each water energy in your discard pile. Oh. So the deal here is very simple. Get water energy, get it all in the discard, and smash. Now, straight off the bat, this reminds me of a card that I got very excited about a while back. Another one of these where my excitement probably stemmed more from the actual Pokemon than it did the card. But I'm talking about the Chandelure that came around in Steam Siege. Now, to be fair, that Chandelure had a really nice ability to let you look at the top 2 cards of your deck and put one in your hand, discard in the other. But it also had a really nice attack for a Psychic and a Colorless Energy that did 10 damage base, plus 10 more for each supporter card in your discard pile. So the theory here was that you just absolutely flooded your discard pile with supporter cards and did a huge amount of damage. And the theory with Jellicent here is that you flood your discard pile with water energy and you go. Want to know something weird? Although you probably spotted it as soon as I put Chandelure up on the screen. These are 2 very similar attacks, and they're both drawn by the same artist, Tomokazu Kamiya, for anyone that's wondering. So this is really kind of cool. I worry that we're needing too much energy. I mean, against something like an Eternatus V Max, which is incidentally as high as you are ever going to need to go, we're still talking about 34 energy in the discard, plus the 2 energy attached to you. So what are you going to do, make like a 40 energy deck? And if you can make a 40 energy deck and make it consistent, you go for it. It's going to be tough. Now, essentially what we're looking for here is a deck that can play lots of energy and mill hyper aggressively. Say hello to Clay. Now, I really like Clay in this deck. And weirdly, right, this is the second video in a row I've mentioned Clay after not mentioning Clay for ages. And it just so happens that I'm currently running through Pokemon White. Guess what gym I took down the first trainer in and then had to pause to stop because it was late and I needed to go to bed. Yeah, that's right. Clay's gym, ladies and gentlemen. Clay's gym. So yeah, that's a little bit weird. So anyway, Clay is great. It lets you discard the top 7 cards of your deck, putting any item cards into your hand. And this is going to do 2 things. It is going to discard a bunch of water energy if you're playing a super water energy heavy deck. Yay! But it's also going to essentially rescue any of those cards that are item cards, which you really want to do. That's kind of the whole point here. You need to try and save them, but it's going to be hard to find them because you're going to be playing essentially majority water energy Well, Clay's going to discard the water energy while saving your item cards, and that is awesome. And there is another combo going on with another card I mentioned in the previous video, actually. There are some similarities between this and Sandaconda. And that is the Gyarados from Team Up. Now, this is still in the format. It's going to rotate out in August, September time, but we still got it for the moment. 1 water energy, you reveal the top 7 cards of your deck. You do 30 damage for each water energy you find there. Shuffle the water energy back into your deck. Your 30 base, obviously. And then discard the others. It's kind of like the opposite. Gyarados wants to keep the energy in your deck and Jellicent wants it out. But if you're playing like a super energy heavy deck, this is going to work. Both Gyarados and Jellicent are going to be happy. So what you really need is lots of aggression. Clay and Professor's Research are going to be your supporters of choice. And then what you really want is anything you can discard. So your stadium could well end up being Viridian Forest, because it lets you discard a card from your hand, a water energy, while searching out an energy card, which is going to be a water energy. Capacious Bucket is going to let you search 2 water energy out from your deck, so that you can then hopefully just discard them using Professor's Research. You are going to want to go as aggressive as you can, discarding as much as you can here. One of the downsides is we just don't have cards to mill ourselves. Like, if we're playing a fighting deck, then obviously we got the aforementioned Sandaconda, we've got my boy Excadrill, we've got some good ways to mill our own deck. Can anybody, and I'm going to be genuinely shocked if any of you out there can anyone name the last water Pokemon we had that could mill cards on the top of your own deck? Because I'll be honest with you, this is one that I had to go and look up. It's a Croconaw from Dragon Majesty that for 3 energy did 90 damage and discarded the top 3 cards of your deck, which you're blatantly not going to do. There was an Avalugg in Steam Siege for 3 water energy that discarded the top 3 cards of your deck. And for each water energy discarded, you discarded the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck, which would give you a nice little alternate win condition here. We don't have them. Water doesn't mill itself, which is really awkward for you here. So we end up in a situation where we need to try and mill ourselves, but water is not giving us any other Pokemon to help. So we're basically just having to muck about with supporter cards and all of that. And honestly, this is my biggest reservation with Jellicent here. How often are we actually going to get to the amount of damage we need? Like, if I want to KO a Jirachi, I've got to get 7 energy in my discard pile. And on the one hand, it's only 7 energy, and on the other hand, that's not as easy as you might think. If I want to go and get a KO on a Dedenne, there's 16 energy in my discard pile. Pikachu and Zekrom, that's 24 energy in my discard pile. Arceus and Dialga and Palkia, that's 28 energy. And if you can get 28 energy in your discard pile fast enough, you will beat ADP every time. But come on. And then, like I say, at the top line here, you've got Eternatus VMAX that's going to take 44 energy. In terms of attaching the energy to yourself, you've got Frostmoth, you're fine. But then again, do you even want to use Frostmoth? This is the biggest issue with trying to play Jellicent as a deck, and it was the issue with Chandelure and Gyarados and all of these other decks. In order to make this deck actually get to the amount of damage that you need to do to be competitive, you need to put so much energy in your deck that your deck is going to be inherently inconsistent. Or you can make yourself nice and consistent as a deck, but you're then going to run into trouble because you're just going to really struggle. You're going to constantly not have quite enough energy to actually be able to go and get a KO on the things in front of you. And you are just going to always be a little bit off. Just 1 or 2 energy missing, or 1 card away, or whatever. Are you really going to be able to get Frostmoth out and your Stage 1 Jellicent out reliably while also playing 30 to 40 energy in your deck? Are you going to be able to get 34 energy into your discard pile to get a KO onto an Eternatus? And the answer might be yes. And if the answer is yes, brilliant. I see this as a hyper interesting card and one that prevents a brilliant, wonderful deck building challenge, and one that is almost certainly going to end up not being good enough. I adore that they let the same artist do Chandelier and Jellicent. That amuses me greatly. But honestly here, I think this card is destined to end up like Chandelier. As interesting as it is, and it really is, I think I've got to give it between 2 and 3 Wassies. We don't give half Wassies, that would be barbaric. It is a hyper interesting card that I really wanted to talk about, but it might actually be a hyper bad card that never ends up being good, and that makes me genuinely sad, but that's where we are. But I want to know what you think about all of this, so let me know in the comment section, would ya? Go nuts, be nice, and then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at The Wassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.